Hey guys, what would it be like if you could last 10 times longer when you're having sex?
We are going to teach you how to gain massive confidence as a lover, all without performance anxiety, gimmicks, or prescription.
This course is perfect for you if you've ever been mortified by a sexual encounter that ended way too early.
Or if you've ever avoided intimacy out of fear that you won't last as long as your lover desires. Or maybe you long to give your partner multiple orgasms but can't last long enough to make that a reality.
Well, good news, we've got your back, and it's in our course, Last 10 Times Longer. Go to sexreimagine.com/last dash the number 10 X dash longer.
And for all of our favorite listeners out there, we are giving you a discount, 20% off, y'all. Just put in podcast 20, all caps, podcast 20 to get your 20% off of this phenomenal course that you're going to want to review more than once.
We cannot wait to see you inside this course. Plus, don't forget, we always got tons of bonuses. See you there.
Today, we're talking to Zeke and Terri Mead, proof that life's most exciting adventures can start after 50. After nearly 25 years of marriage, they faced divorce, and then something unexpected happened. Through sex, they accidentally rebooted their relationship, rediscovered each other, and decided to embrace a whole new chapter together. Now, they're just thriving as a couple. They've even launched a business called Zeke and Terri Adventures, proving that reinvention is always possible, no matter your age. So welcome, everyone, to the Sex Reimagine podcast. I'm Dr. Willa Brown. I'm here with the one and only Leah Piper, and we are so grateful for all your wonderful likes, shares, and subscribes. Keep them coming. And today we are here with Zeke and Terri Mead.
It's time to really be inspired by love and the reimagined relationship, that second chances are real and they're possible. So please tune in, turn on, and fall in love with Zeke and Terri.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagine podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Whoa. We've fallen in love. They don't need to fall in love with us. They can fall in love on their own. I just want to establish some boundaries here. I need a safe word. Can we get a safe word?
Sex Reimagined. Okay, we
want our subscribers falling in love with everyone we talk to.
Yes,
wow.
Especially with your advice.
Yeah, I don't know if our home insurance policy is going to cover that.
Okay, folks, you've been warned. Keep your love at a safe distance. All right. Welcome to the show, Terri, and welcome, Zeke.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're looking forward to super fun conversation.
Great.
So tell us how this whole sexual revolution in your marriage just kept you going. Like, how did that come about? Did you guys look into some Tantra courses? Did you just get into some books? Or what kind of sparked this whole reinvention?
Well, I think we need to backtrack just a little bit to, where we were at the point of divorce and how, like, a week later, my brilliant idea to have sex accidentally allowed us to reboot our relationship after nearly 25 years.
Real quick, Terri, let's even roll back further. I want to hear the original love story. How did you guys come together to fall in love the first time?
We actually have to go back to when we were 10 years old, and we were both in the gifted and talented education system, which a lot of you Gen Xers might be familiar with. We went to 2 different elementary schools, and all of the GATE kids converged once a month for everything from, reading related stuff to computer programming stuff, anything to keep us interested in school. Zeke remembers meeting or seeing me and my identical twin sister, Sherry. I don't remember him. And then when we all converged at the same junior high for 7th and 8th grade, we met again. We went together in the 8th grade for about 6 weeks. I dumped him. We were friends through high school. When we were about 2021, we reconnected again. I was in the Bay Area going to college. He was in Chico, poor starting college student. And we hooked up again, but it's the story's better if I say that I dumped him, but it just kind of fizzled out. We're 24. We dated again. He swooped in after I was in a long-term relationship with He did erotic poetry on my voicemail, picnics on the beach, but I wasn't ready for it, so I dumped him again. And when I was 25, I made a list of everything I wanted in a guy, and he met all the criteria, except he was essentially the boy next door I had dumped 3 times.
And I had long-term memory loss.
So, but you knew which one it was Terry and which one was Jerry. Yeah. So we went skiing, had a little bit too much wine, and I just said, we need to date one more time, and either our friendship is over because we can't keep doing this, or we're getting married. And 14 months later, we were married. So
Wow.
the age of 26, we got into marriage thinking, without a lot of thought or intention, which was just kind of what was done back then. So we got married, we bought the house, we got the dog, we had the kids, built the careers. He ended up staying home with the kids once our oldest was going into 1st grade. And our lives just went kind of separate. We ended with this major chasm between us because we were not intentional about our relationship. And so for about 10 years, we danced around separating, getting divorced. One of us would say, we're done. And the other one would say, I'm not ready. And so finally, in January of 2021, we both kind of came to the same conclusion that it wasn't working. And when we told our kids, they were like, well, it's about time. I mean, they knew that we were not modeling good relationship behavior. We were not happy with each other. So that's to catch you up to the point where we just said, okay, we're done. And then we spent the following week, it was during the pandemic. And so Zeke just moved into our son's bedroom. He was off at college, but we were spending every evening together. We cooked dinner together. We watched something after dinner. And I was just devastated because I process things really quickly, a lot faster than he does. And I was just like, okay, well, what's this going to look like? We're going to be friends forever because we have been friends forever. We still love each other. We're just not good as a couple. We're not good for each other. We're not good as individuals with each other. It just wasn't healthy. So every day we would talk about it. We looked into buying a house on the street so we could stay close together. We wanted to continue to be there for the kids. And I'm a silver lining kind of gal, and I can get over things within like 36 to 48 hours. And I was not seeing any sort of silver lining. And I'd go in and I'd just be devastated, and he would just hold me as I cried. And by the end of the week, I was asking him, like, why aren't you as devastated as me? And he said, Terri, you process things faster. I'm just not there yet. And so finally on the Friday, I said to him, I'm like, who's going to be my emergency contact? And he said, I'll always be your emergency contact.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was at that point, it was like, okay, I can close the door on this. The next day I was driving to play some tennis. The weather was gorgeous. And I had some great tunes on, and I could feel the color coming back into my life. And I was like, okay, I'm ready for the next stage. And one of the things I thought about is like, I want to have sex. I want to have really good sex. Our sex in our relationship wasn't really great up until that point. And I was like, if I'm going to get back out there, I want to reclaim who I was before I got married. And I want to, reclaim my midlife body and everything else. And so after dinner, we're sitting there and I just said to him, I'm like, hey, what do you think about having sex? And he goes, is that a good idea? And I'm like, well, why not? We can't go out and date. I want to reclaim who I am. I want to rediscover or discover new things. So after we watch this, I'm going to go take a bath. Come join me in the bedroom. I'll be naked in bed and we'll see what happens. He's like, I don't know. He comes in and he's like, are you sure? And I said, absolutely. And that was the beginning of a completely new relationship in a way that we hadn't expected, because I use this term sexploration. We use sexploration to, redefine what we wanted in our bodies and everything else. And we started to communicate. We were vulnerable with each other. We had so much fun. I did a ton of research to try to find things for us to experiment with. Some things worked, some things didn't. And over time, as each of us were going through therapy individually and had no intention of rebooting the relationship, through all of this, we were like, after a couple months, it's like, maybe we should start dating again. So
wow. What was your kids' reaction when you told them, hey, we're giving us another shot?
I don't remember. Do you remember what the kids said?
Mhm.
We've had to do a lot of like fixing and apologizing because we realized just how badly we were modeling good relationship behavior. So I think that I don't think they're surprised by anything we do because we do all sorts of weird things, and it's like, okay, Terri has this idea, mom has this idea to do something, dad's going along with it, and to see where we end up. But we'll have to ask them. I think, there are a lot of, even now, I think in the last week, I was talking to our son who's 24, and I'm like, we were talking about relationships, and I said, I'm really sorry that we modeled things so poorly for you. And he goes, yeah, I think I'm having to kind of learn how to do it properly. And I said, that's what your 20s are for, is to learn what you like, what you don't like, experiment. You're going to have heartbreaks and stuff. But, your 20s are all about figuring out, and learning and experimenting. And if you treat it as such, then I think you can have a lot of fun with it.
Wow, that's really great.
Zeke, I'm so curious, like where when this whole sort of like sexual evolution started coming forward, and you were like, what was your reaction to it as it started to evolve? Was there a point before conversation of like, oh, this is actually working, let's try this again? Was there a point inside of you where you were like, gosh, I hope that this sexual respark can make things work for us?
Let's take a quick break.
Ladies, do you want to explore your sexuality and experience true sexual healing?
The Vaginal Orgasms Masterclass teaches you and your partners how to unlock your full sexual potential and awaken the G-spot, the sacred spot, and the cervix for an unforgettable sexual experience. Would learning how to finally surrender and release grief, fear, and uncertainty benefit your outlook on life, love, and relationships? We certainly think so. Common misconceptions of the G-spot, including its anatomy and function as an erogenous zone, will be covered in this course.
Plus, we're going to teach you 7 different massage strokes for the G-spot that dissolve blocked energy and increase your pleasure tenfold.
We're going to teach you how to locate the sacred spot and the best methods to stimulate it for maximum pleasure.
And you're going to learn about cervical orgasm techniques, which are the most powerful and also often elusive style of climaxing. This class is primarily geared toward women, but men have taken it as well and learned so much about how to pleasure their partners.
So get ready for multiple O's, my friends. And you can get all of that at sexreimagine.com/female-masterclass. And for being a listener of the show, we've got a beautiful coupon code for you. It is 20% off this course. Just type in podcast20, that's all caps, podcast20, and get yourself a great deal on this on-demand course.
The sort of the best parallel I can draw is there was a lot of things going on at the same time. Terri, maybe even before this sexploration thing started happening. If you haven't figured out already, she likes to share. Did brought a book called The New I Do. And so I was flipping through this book and I was like, oh, and this is the first point in time in which I sort of, a light bulb went on to say, the relationship that we have together can change. And it can change not just from being married to being separated or divorced or whatever, and being co-parents to 2 kids and whatever happens down the road. But we can also change the type of marriage that we have. And so I've sort of started thinking of, well, we can re-engineer the marriage, right? So we've divorced ourselves from the old marriage and we're reimagining and re-engineering and making a new marriage that has different parameters and different, a different structure, if you will. And so then I can sort of introduce myself and build this new marriage in the way that we want it to be, or I want it to be. And if that works out how she wants it to be, great, then we're on our way. Paralleling that, this is the only time in my life that someone had approached me, and I recognize I'm equating marriage to a job here, but it's not quite like that, but it's my closest analogy. I had someone approach me and say, hey, I have this job that I think you'd be good for. I wasn't looking for a job. I didn't need a job. I knew nothing about the job. And so I went into that job saying, well, if you've approached me and you know who I am and you want me to do this job, then I'm going to do this job how I want to do this job. And if it doesn't work out, then I leave because I didn't want the job in the first place. And the reaction I got when I went in and started doing things how I would do them was everybody was like, wow, this is great. Nobody did this before, right? Because someone was hired or someone was looking for a job and they wanted to do the job how the boss wanted them to do the job, they thought.
Yeah.
And
Right.
preconceived of borders and restrictions on how to do it. And so paralleling our relationship was over 25 years. I had thought how things should be, and I wasn't had this relationship that didn't allow us to go outside of those boundaries. And so then we start this sexploration, which obviously is let's explore as much new stuff as possible, which is what opened up a whole different type of relationship that was obviously been much more successful.
Are you
So
are you saying I'm a job?
Relationships
well,
don't work.
relationships are
Yeah.
our work. So these two things were happening in parallel. So you were going through a time in your life where you were actually stepping into, it sounds like, more of your authenticity, more of your real truth, and like how you actually wanted to show up rather than how you were supposed to, which changed everything. Are you still working at that job? Are you still doing that?
No. Unfortunately,
Okay.
Post-COVID, that went away. And
It
as
went
well
away.
as it was interesting, side note, they hired me and said, we need you here at least 3 years. And I said, perfect. In 3 years, my youngest is going to be off to college and we're going to be off doing something else. Perfect. I like to build and redesign and then set something off on a new level. And literally 3 years to the day, and I started before COVID, 3 years almost to the day after that, post-COVID, I said that I'm done and we're on our way. And then shortly after that, that opportunity actually dissolved
anyway.
itself. So,
The business closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Well, I think
Fascinating.
I want to just highlight something really unique that occurred, because I think also this is it seems like a hard thing to do, but it sounds like it wasn't that hard for you, because I think this happens with men all the time in their relationships with women. Women naturally feel like we know the best way forward and we know how we like things done. And we can get irritated with men because they don't do it the way we would do it, even though how they would do it, if we gave them the chance, sometimes it's better. And if we could just step out of our own way, then everyone gets a win. And it's actually really hard. I'll speak for myself. It's been really hard to pull back that initial urge to go, no, it's supposed to be like this. So it's kind of where I feel like the inner masculine of the feminine it has a way of disrupting what could be a really beautiful flow and partnership in male-female dynamics. It's almost like we kind of emasculate men quite a bit because we just want them to do it the way we would do it, or we think that that's the right way. So what I'm hearing you say is like you guys really unplugged from that dynamic that I think is very common in our culture. And it sounds like Terri, like you were quite delighted that he did things his way and that there was something new arose from that. Am I tracking that correctly?
just to jump in before Terri clarifies, I think the way it happened in my mind anyway, in my recollection, is that the old relationship as that entity went away. And then Terri opened up an opportunity for that relationship to start in a new way. And then paralleling the book she had and thinking was like, oh, okay, and she was the initiator of this, can have a different relationship. And so then that sort of started the ball rolling there. But
well, so in closing the door on the relationship, in what I wanted to do, I actually centered everything around me. In a patriarchal society, a lot of us women and girls are socialized to center our lives around men and boys, or make the decision around making sure everybody else is just fine. And in this particular case, it was like, oh, it's just going to be me. The kids are off to, essentially off to college. It's just going to be me. I need to refocus on me. I wrote a book called Piloting Your Life to inspire women over the age of 40 to design and live a life of our own creation. So, I've done the research. I preach certain things that I wasn't necessarily doing because it's so hard in the conditioning. So I remember going, okay, well, if I'm going to be on my own, I'm going to center it around me. And so I said, this is what I want. You want to show up for this? Great. You show up the way that you want. Because I wasn't anticipating or expecting that we would have a relationship beyond a certain point, that we were never actually going to get fully divorced because our financial situation is just too complicated. So it was just going to be a matter of how are we going to exist in the world? I was like, I'm never getting married again. I never want to center my life around a man again.
Me neither.
You're not centering life around a man again. Is there something a surprise in there? So I was just like, I want to create the best possible me to really thrive in the next half of my life. And so in showing it's like, okay, got inspired by Sex with Emily and got lube. And I'd already purchased a whole bunch of toys in my research for my book, purchased some more toys, watched some videos, tried some erotic audio stuff, was just trying all of these different things. And I brought him in because I trust him. I trust that I wasn't going to come home. We weren't seeing anyone else. We weren't introducing any sort of health issues. I was nearing the end of the the menopause transition. So I knew I wasn't going to get pregnant. I knew that he didn't care what my body looked like, so I could show up in that. So there was a lot of freedom in that exploration. And in that freedom, I'm like, I am not expecting you to I don't want to say give me pleasure, because my pleasure is my own responsibility, but he showed up as a willing participant, and he also wanted to learn and play. And that's what it was play. There was no obligation that was happening in it that happens a lot in relationships, and we were like, I did the majority of the research and said, okay, let's try this. Here's what I've learned. Let's try this. Foreplay begins at the last sexual encounter. Don't show up, without, actually, that's actually not true. I was saying, look, I'm ripe and ready for this. You show up, play it. If not, I'm on my own. So I think it was less about doing it his way, and it removed the obligation, and I was doing it in service to myself and not in service to the relationship or to anyone else. And there was a lot of freedom that came from that experience.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
All women could use to do, no matter what stage in life they're in, is like re-devote to themselves, because I feel like it is such a very common sort of archetype, the martyr archetype, where it's like, I'm giving up everything for everyone around me, the disease to please. I'm going to make sure everyone has what they need and everyone's comfortable and everyone feels safe, and at my own expense. This has been a very sort of a long-standing, I think, especially in certain generations, a long-standing theme for women. And I feel like younger generations are doing it less and less, but I think even no matter what season or stage you're in life, the re-devotion to yourself and reclaiming of your own sexual divine feminine essence and energy is what is attractive and is what is magnetic for partners, whether they're male or female. It's what's magnetic for life and opportunities. So it's such a testament to what's possible.
I also feel like it balances something really essential that women have not been given permission for, which is to discover their own desire and their own bodies, their erotic bodies, to discover what turns them on, what makes them press the accelerator, what makes them press the brakes, for them to have self-knowledge so that their lovers can win with them. Otherwise, it's like we're kind of taught that men are the ones who want it, so they must be the ones who know how to do it. Meanwhile, no one learns how to do it. And women are like, here, you figure it out. And everyone's just kind of lost, not really knowing what gets us plugged in. And so when women I'll use your language, which I really love, Terri, is take responsibility for their own pleasure, then this playground of discovery gets to exist. The pressure kind of goes down, the dial on pressure and obligation, those get switched off. And then you get to be in this adult playground. And I hope that women are discovering that younger and younger, though it does seem to be a theme that women turn towards this and their own bodies at around mid-age. I think perimenopause may have something to do with it. I think we get to a point where, like, okay, we've had our kids, we're in our careers, we're headed towards another phase in our life, which kind of feels like some of the closing chapters. So we get to go, there's got to be something more to sex. And I'll be damned if I don't find out what it is. And so this is often a place where people do get divorced. In fact, they say that divorce rates are sort of highest as women go through menopause. A lot of women divorce in menopause. So I find all of this sort of ironic and interesting. Yeah. So is there a question in there? I guess the question is what do you want people to know? What's your message now to our audience? What do you think is really important? Are there steps that you have figured out that other people could follow that could give them the same breakthroughs that the two of you have discovered?
Well, I think Zeke has said this a couple of times in conversations with other people, is divorcing ourselves from the relationship really takes seeing the relationship as a joint entity. It's something that is for us to create, mold, work on, and invest in. We did not invest in our relationship I worked, he stayed home. Between the kids, the pressure to succeed in the Silicon Valley, all those things, we didn't invest in ourselves. We didn't invest in our relationship. So if we had done that, if we'd had the awareness, if we'd read the book, The New I Do, then we would have had greater awareness before we entered into a marriage to understand what we both wanted and what we were willing to commit to in the relationship. One of the things in building intimacy and then getting past the divisive chasm that happens when we're so busy dealing with all of the internal and external pressures is we now do weekly check-ins. So this was something that I discovered. It's probably based on some Gottman stuff and other things. So we try to do weekly check-ins so that we don't get too far apart, where, we sit down and we ask each other, is there something I can do to make you feel more loved and more comfortable right now? And so that sets it. And then we ask questions, is there something that I did to inadvertently hurt you this week? And, we talked about repairing that so that doesn't get too far. We don't get too far on the weeds and away from each other. How was our sex life this week? We asked that question. And I love that the answer is either, oh my God, the kids have gotten in the way, or work has gotten in the way, or it's fantastic. Those are the binaries. What do you have coming up this next week? That's, is there anything stressful? And is there anything that I can do to alleviate that stress? How did I make you feel loved this week? So in those moments when, those weeks where, the Zeke and Terri adventures thing, oh my God, total slog. And we're both doing things that are like outside of our comfort zone, and it's hard, and we're not seeing the results that we want. This helps us come together, remind ourselves why we are together. The other thing is, in investing in the relationship, investing in ourselves, doing our work. I am all about dismantling the patriarchal expectations placed on girls and women, which is really hard. And it actually puts, I think, very difficult expectations and dynamics on, I'm going to say, cis-het couple, heterosexual couples. And so having both parties recognize the expectations that are both toxic to men and to women, and how neither of us win in relationships under patriarchy, I think having awareness around that is important. And then finally, finding a way to make sex fun. As I was doing research for my book, and I used to have a podcast as well, I interviewed Dr. Jess Silverman out of Seattle, and she talked about redefining what sex is. Sex is, especially as our bodies age and our bodies behave differently, whether it's erectile dysfunction or vaginal dryness or difficulty orgasming or changing in orgasms, redefining what sex is, not just for those of us who are at midlife, but at a younger age, so that as you go through your sexual life, it's not just about intercourse, or it's just not about just one thing. It's really a whole body experience. So I think a suggestion is definitely for women to own their pleasure, play with toys, watch stuff, read stuff, and not feel the shame that the puritanical shame that tends to be placed on a lot of us women, which is where I really struggled, because up until the time that we got married, I was sexually active, had a great time, knew exactly what did I want, who I wanted it from, and how to get it. But when we got married, I coupled the idea of love and sex together and pleasure, and those two things did not meet up for me. And so it took until I was 51 to be able to go, these two things can exist. Because I mean, at the age of 16, I was like, if it's not fun, I'm not in it. But I wasn't really in love until, 25, 26 when we got married. And so it took a long time for me to see that those two things could coexist, and I could love Zeke and I could have really great sex with him, and those were not in conflict.
Wow.
I love first of all, I want to highlight the weekly check-in. Like, what a huge game changer for any relationship, any intimate relationship that you're involved in your life. I think those questions that you are asking each other each week are really, really valuable. So go back and take notes of those, audience, because those are great. And then, really starting to, separate out love and sex so that you can see the difference, so that you can unify them back together once again. Really, really powerful, and such an internal practice and process to figure out inside of yourself, but then also to share with your partner. What was your experience with that, Zeke? Like the love versus the sex, and kind of, were they always in union for you? Was it a similar process of finding union within them for you?
I'm probably gonna just claim that I didn't quite realize you can sift those things apart. And my 26-year-old self got married and figured that was all in the same bucket. And that was something that I hadn't quite sorted out. What I will say in terms of a list of things or a step process for going through this, one, as we should all not ever expect anything to stay the same.
Right.
And so look for making changes. And again, that doesn't mean that you are then not married and divorced and that you're no longer have any relationship, but you can change the relationship. And the best way to do that is to say, I need to change this. I think we need to change this relationship. How do you want to change it? Or what would you like to do, and try and work together to make changes that everyone wants? Or, hey, let's open up this one area and let's explore and figure out how to make changes. Because I'd like it to be better. I think you'd like it to be better, and let's have a better relationship. And whether that's communication or sex or whatever. And that's probably the one thing that allowed Terri to talk me into doing a YouTube channel, Zeke and Terri's Adventures, was to show people that at 50, 55, you can go out and go do things. And the one confirming thing from that we found is when we're out doing our travels, we'll find some 20-year-old working at a business somewhere where we're going to go do something, an adventure. And we tell them that we got this channel, and they go, oh, that's great. I should tell my parents about that.
So give them a sticker.
Yeah, their parents are sitting at home, not doing anything.
Anything.
Right. And our life expectancies hopefully continue to get longer. And we're going to have more time to do that. At the same time, we're not encouraging folks to go start a YouTube channel and do this full time, but you should find opportunities to do things that you're not going to be able to do in 10 years. Because I'm already can't do what I wanted to do 10 years ago. But I don't want to get to 65 at the retirement age and then go, wow, I wish I would have done.
I wish I would have tried.
My big thing is bike rides. I do two-week-long bike rides around the world with some friends, and we come back and we'll be at something and we'll tell them about a trip that we just did. And every time someone will say, I'm going to do that someday. And all four of us look at them and go, there is no someday.
There is no someday. Get it done now. I feel that way about traveling.
Yeah. I mean, and that adventurous spirit totally translates into your sex life. Like after you get out doing something you didn't think you could do or you didn't know was possible, you're supercharged.
Or you were putting off and decided to not put it off anymore. Which leads me to another question, because I imagine there are people listening who feel inspired by your weekly check-in, but also feel terrified. Because when you aren't showing up and your sex life has been in the dumps for months, weeks, years, and you know those questions are arising and you're sort of afraid of your partner's answer, or you know you're dropping the ball and it's been really hard to figure out how to pick it up, I can see like why couples go into avoidance. Like, I don't want to answer these hard questions. I don't want to confront on how this area of our life isn't working. I just want to like do one of these. And those of you who are listening, I'm kind of shrieking back like, I don't want to deal. I don't want to deal. So we go into avoidance. And I'm just wondering what's your advice for people who are sort of stuck at that place to break that up and move forward anyways?
It's okay, Terri. I'm not just let me
Take it away, Zeke.
So
I'm curious to see what your answer is.
So the answer is I'm the avoidant one, and Terry's love languages.
No. It's our attachment styles.
Attachment
I'm anxious. He's avoidant.
Yeah. And so I'm the one who, when things get rough, get busy or whatever, I get focused on the task at hand. And so we need to make dinner. We need to do this. I got to do the laundry, all those things. And so I like to, accomplish something. And I need to start to reframe my brain. I need to continue to reframe my brain. It's not all the way there yet. A checklist is to make Terri feel comfortable. And once I make Terri feel comfortable and confident in our relationship, then other good things are going to happen. And that tension goes away, that anxiety goes away.
So, and I'm just going to say it is hard. But what we've done is we've built up through this whole process. And by the way, it's every day is hard. We were in kind of a disagreement for about 2 weeks. We didn't have sex for like 2.5 weeks, which is a long time for us now. And I could feel it in the relationship. I can feel the tension. I can feel the distance. But the trust, we've built up trust. So even if I know maybe I screwed up on something that we haven't cleaned up during the week, and asking the question, did I do something to inadvertently hurt you this week? He always says, no, I can't think of anything. And generally, if we haven't already dealt with it, I might have something. But wanting so much, having the desire to have an amazing relationship means you have to set aside that fear and know that having that honest conversation is worth it's like going and doing a workout. It's like, oh, I got to have to put my clothes on. I need to get to the gym. I need to go do this. I hate the glute and the abs stuff, but I know that in the short term and the long term, it's going to be worthwhile. And I see it as the same way. So there is always a hesitancy because I'm like, oh God, what if I screwed up? And it's like, well, the result of not addressing it is that the issues that come from that are far worse than potentially the small little thing that's going to come up. And if we continue to avoid, the things get bigger and bigger. There's something that's still happening in our life that ends up being something that Zeke avoids until, it can be small at the beginning, and then he avoids it so long, it actually creates a bigger problem. So that, are you asking about, the shrinking, Leah, trying to avoid it? It's just like, how bad could it possibly, asking yourself the question, how bad could it possibly be to actually face this? And what if I don't? How bad is that going to be? And we all know it's going to be 10 times worse, 1,000 times worse than if we actually face it. Because we make in our minds something, things so much worse than they are. And also if there's shame around it, to bring up Brené Brown and all of her work around shame, shame exists in the dark. And so if we feel ashamed or concerned about something, if we can't bring it up with our partner, who we're supposed to have this loving and trusting relationship with, then what do we really have in a relationship?
Yeah, I think you said a lot of really beautiful, beautiful answers. One is, I heard the word trust. And I think sometimes we have to remember that even if trust has been a little distorted in our relationship, this is the person we chose to do life with. We need to lean into trust. We need to lean into the emotional capital that does exist from having been together for a very long time, and trust that we can be vulnerable, even if it's uncomfortable, especially because it's going to be uncomfortable when we've been avoiding something. Lean into, when we do hard things, great things happen. And sometimes we have to rip off the Band-Aid and go through whatever days, weeks, or months of discomfort it might require to heal that which has been avoided, but to know that the quality of your life increases having done those pieces of work, and the closeness that happens from addressing conflict. And it's like my husband always tells me, when we've got a problem, we tend to face it this way. Like we tend to face each other. And in that facing of each other, like the conflict is like with each other. But if we turn towards the conflict so that we're on but we're in partnership with that conflict. We're not against each other in the conflict. I think there's something really powerful about, like you said earlier, shifting our intention when it comes to navigating these hard things so that we're intentional. And then I think also being generous with our partner. I think is also something that's really helpful. Like I think being generous with our assumptions, that it's not that they're avoiding us, that they're actually avoiding something inside of them that may be tender. And if we can kind of hold that with some sacredness, breakthroughs are much more possible. I think the other thing that happens when you do that is it will surprise you that processing could be pretty fast. Like it doesn't have to turn into this long, anguish-filled process, like when you just go head on, sometimes it can be resolved really fast. Was that ever your guys' experience, that things were processed more quickly than you could have imagined?
Yeah, I think you hit so many beautiful things. One, we need to remember we can do the hard things. We've done them before. We have a track record. We can do it again. But yeah, so I love the generosity and the grace concept, because I'm imagining as we sit on the couch, it's just the two of us, we're holding each other's hands going, there's something I can do to make you feel more loved and more comfortable right now. And that closeness creates a level of love and vulnerability. It creates this little bubble, essentially. So when, and having the pattern of, we know these questions are coming, and there's it's nice that there's some familiarity in that, because there are no surprises. What might come out of their mouth might be a surprise, but to ask the question, I know that when he comes in and goes, yeah, I'll say whatever it is. And then I'll feel him just kind of tense a little bit when he says, well, I did it for this reason, and I'm really sorry about that. I said, I totally understand. And I do feel us shifting into that side by side versus the forward contentious, positioning on that. And because I want so much for him to feel good and comfortable, for our relationship to succeed, it helps soften everything up, instead of like, you did this and you did that. And he'll be like, yeah, I really screwed up on that. I'm sorry. And then I can be there and just like, yeah, let's talk through it, or whatever. And it does keep things from getting big and blown out of proportion, especially since, we have such a history, knowing each other for 45 years, married at this point for almost 30. There's a lot of garbage in our history that we do not understand how we were able to close the door on like 98% of it. And not drag it forward into this new relationship. There's a lot of stuff there. And I know if we hadn't done the work prior to 5 years ago, there's stuff that would come up every single time. And it'd be like, oh, we have this habit, we have this history. I know this is going to end up going in this ugly direction. But by dealing with it in that moment, we're able to keep it small. And I'm hoping that allows us to rewire our nervous systems to go, this is a safe place. We can trust this. It is not going to ever go back to the way that it was. Because every morning, we commit to each other every day. This is part of what we learned from the new I Do, is we know we are not stuck in this relationship. We are choosing to be in this relationship. And if we close the door once, we can close the door again. And so every day it's like, good morning, I love you, kiss each other. And that is our morning commitment to say, we're in this again for another day. We're in this again for another day. And that is something that I don't think Zeke realized until recently just how important that is to me with my anxious attachment style. For him to commit to me every day, because I question everything constantly, to know that, yep, he's in it for another day. Like, I'm in it because I'm stubborn as all get out. But, he does not need that reassurance. I need that reassurance.
Oh, that's really helpful. Yeah, I had friends who every day would wake up and go, I marry you again today. So I love this. I do you every day.
Well, I would like us to be doing each other every day. But I get in the way of that.
I love that. This book sounds great. I think everyone needs to pick up this book, The New Idea.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
Who's the author?
I don't know. It's just called The New Idea. And it just talks about, I think, 6 or 8 different ways that you can go into a marriage and how to be thoughtful about it, whether you're doing it for kids, which means, you have a timeline of like 18 to 20 years. One's going to be for financial, one's going to be for companionship, I don't remember all of them, but it was just the New Idea. And it's a book. I wish that we had, I don't know if we would have had the awareness at 25, 26, but to go to be very intentional going into it. The Erin Levine has a company called Hello Divorce, where she's really trying very hard to make it easier for couples to decouple. And she talks often about how getting married is one of the most complicated financial transactions you can enter. We go into it thinking it's just all about love, not realizing everything else that goes along with it. So in thinking about getting married, it's not, oh, I love you and I want to spend the rest of it's like there is so much more that you have to be thinking about when you decide to spend the rest of or spend a period of time of your life together, depending upon what it is that you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know we're coming to the end of our time together. And one thing that I really want to hear is, did you guys ever go down the tantric path? Totally shifting. It's been a lovely conversation around how to hold relationship in life. But let's talk about the sex a little more.
Yeah, no, we haven't done anything. I mean, we tried the toys. We tried, I invested in a company called Afterglow, which is porn designed by women for women. So we tried various different types of that. We tried various different, because we never did the tantric stuff. We did go to a sex club in San Francisco once. It was a horrifying experience. And I have to tell you, so we get it. What I'd love to see, we got a hotel room in San Francisco, had a couple cocktails. We're standing in line to go in. And what I'd love to see was the diversity of the people outside. It was all ages, all skin colors, all body types. I thought, I like this. We go inside and we're kind of walking around. The place is just janky. It's skanky. It is not, it's like, this is gross. I will pay a lot more money for something that is much more luxurious than this.
Yeah.
There is this one guy, we're kind of checking things out, and there's nothing, the two of us going in there together was actually really good for our relationship, because it was
that's adventurous
against everybody. It's just like, we will be able to laugh or cry about this if this is like whatever the experience. There was this older white guy walking around in tennis shoes and white knee socks, sports socks, walking around with his clothes butt naked, walking around. And I was like, I am not sitting down in any chair or at any surface in here. We did one loop and I was like, nope. And, out we went. So we've tried that.
Okay. So basically you guys still have a whole tantric journey ahead of you.
I just made note of that.
Never be on Zeke and Terri adventures.
No.
Great. Love it.
Yeah, cool. Well, this has been such a delight. You're both such an inspiration. I'm reaching my 10-year wedding anniversary in the next year, and we plan on renewing our vows. And I think before we do, we will read The New I Do to be as intentional as you all heading into a new sunrise together. And any parting thoughts that you might have for our audience, and how can people find you?
Well, I'd love it if you have any midlife women listeners if they're wondering about who they are and what they want next. There is a chapter on sex and relationships in my book, Piloting Your Life. It's called Piloting Your Life because one of my hobbies is flying helicopters. I'm a commercially rated helicopter pilot, so all my branding is around aviation. But yeah, you can follow our travel adventures, life adventures. Our tagline is navigating our lives and the world mostly together, because we have our solo trips. So you can find us at zekeandterri.com or Zeke and Terri Adventures on all of the platforms. And my focus is generally on women. So it was just like, women, own your life, own your body without other people's expectations. Ask for what you want, give yourself what you want and need. And not only will you feel more comfortable in yourself and your body, but you'll feel in your sexuality, but you will feel more comfortable with a partner if you so choose.
And most of that, all of that is found on pilotingyourlife.com, as well as pilotingyourliferetreats.com.
Oh yeah, I'm launching a new retreat ecosystem.
Cool. I love this. And I love that you're helping people reimagine second chances. Not only the second chance you can give yourself, but a second chance you can give a lover. We're really walking away from this episode with a lot of hope. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So great to connect with you both. And we'll see you very soon.
All right, you guys know it's not the end of the show. You know what's up next, the dish. So please stay tuned.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
Can recap those questions that they were asking each other.
You know, I actually have
of them.
Yeah, I have specifically because I think I have the same ones.
Okay.
And I often give them to couples. And Matt and I did them for a while. Let me just find them for a minute. Okay. Weekly check-in ritual for couples. What are you happy about? What helped you to feel loved and connected this week? What are you afraid to tell me? What requests do you have to make our relationship more fulfilling for you? What will support you to feel loved this week? And is there anything left unsaid? And one of the things that I noticed was maybe different from those questions from what they mentioned is, how was our sex life this week? And then how can we make our sex life even better this week?
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are all great questions. And I think it's a really important thing that all couples could start to do. And yeah, it is a little bit of like unpacking a can of worms, I'm sure, at first. But over time, it totally it's that 1% change. If you're going in a certain direction, you do 1% change, it's going to start taking you in a totally different direction. So
yeah, like even 1% improvement has impact. I think that's really a cool thing just to let sink in. That 1% even matters, and chances are you can do even better than 1%.
Absolutely, for sure. With these questions, I think you're rocking at least a 30 or a 50%.
And I think too, like, it's kind of interesting from like the parent-child perspective. Like, I could see how their kids or a similar couple and their kids, like how you could kind of be pissed off at your parents. Like, look, I'm sick of your roller coaster. Like, God damn it, like you could have some resentment there. But then when I think about, wow, when your parents really make the turn and they turn towards each other and they give each other a second chance and it's better than ever, how that must renew your faith and love. Like it really is like a beautiful modeling, even though I'm sure it could be frustrating at first, right? You got to we all are recovering from our childhood. No one does it perfect. And even
the
people
first relationships
had parents who were really in love and modeled something really beautiful, that's no guarantee that their kids are going to have the same experience.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all
an
up to
adventure.
Everyone.
Yeah, we're all gonna find our way and work together. And I love the idea of just being generous with your partner. Not assuming that they are pitted against you, but that there might be something going on inside of them that they are not even aware of, that they could use some support with and maybe some inquiry around.
And additionally, I love that people are asking these kinds of questions, that they want to be more intentional, that they're taking a look at something and going, wait a minute, there may be another perspective here. There may be a mindset shift here. Like, it's really encouraging to see more and more people being curious about becoming more conscious and wanting to love better.
Yeah. Hallelujah to that.
Hallelujah.
Let's keep it happening.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
All right, folks.
Sending you so much love.
So much love.
Ciao.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and Functional Medicine Doctor and Taoist Sexology Teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.